What's up, guys? It's been a while. I wanted today jump into a lot of the wiring that I've been working on for the past couple of months. All right, guys, so let's jump into the wiring. The first thing I want to go through is this slide, which I think most people who convert cars are pretty familiar with, and I went over this in an earlier episode, episode 10. And yeah, if it's the first time you're looking at it, it looks very, very complicated. I'm not gonna lie, it is rather daunting when I first looked at it, and even till today. But I kind of want to go through some of the major components and then show you what I've been working on. So starting here on the lower right, this is the actual motor here, the Hyper9 motor. And you have the 3 leads going to your motor controller over here to the right. And then this motor controller has a harness that has all these different color-coded wires, which I have run through the middle of my car. And then there are these 2 leads here, which are the high voltage positive and negative. They run to the contactor box. This whole area right here in the center of this box is the contactor box. It has the main contactor, it has the shunt on and off, it has some of the logic, fuses, of course, and then it has logic to control the onboard charger. And then coming off of this contactor box, you're going to go to your main battery box, which is going to have the positive and negative sides, which also has a fuse. And then you're going to have some circuitry here on the left, top left, which is going to control your charger, your onboard charger. And then finally, going to the lower left, you're going to have your controls for the throttle. And then you have different buttons for regen if you want to control that. And then you have your output 12 volts to your like fans and coolant pumps and things like that. So, I mean, it's pretty complicated. There's a lot of wiring. And so when I was looking at this, I was trying to figure out, well, do I want to spend a lot of time trying to put this together, DIY? And I've been working on this project for over 2 years, so no, I kind of want to get this thing going as quickly as possible. So I found this vendor. It's called Flashdrive Motors. I love their products, and I ended up buying their contactor box, the Hyper9 contactor box. This is kind of what it looks like. I'll show you in a minute what it looks like in the car. But it's very compact design. And the thing I was thinking about is, look, it's going to be safe. I know that it's going to work. It's going to save me time, which is the most important thing. So trying to figure out how to put all these components together and then wiring it, and that is going to be huge question mark whether it's going to work or not. So buying this off-the-shelf product is just going to help me save time, and I know it's going to work. And lastly, it looks nice. It's compact, rather than buying like a plastic box from Home Depot and then cutting holes in it and trying to figure out and stuffing all these wires and trying to make it look nice. So this one I think was about $1,500. I'll have to check the price. It has a contactor, it has pre-charge relays, it has the voltage fuses, it's got these 2 auxiliary connectors, which I'll be using, one for my charger, and it's got the disconnect switch as well. Now, this system is perfect for what I'm doing because I will also be using the Orion 2 BMS, and I'll be using an Elcon onboard charger, and the system is made for that. Now, Flashdrive Motors also sells this 12-volt VCU, and so this is going to eliminate all the headache for all your lower voltage connections. So how are you going to, how are you going to wire up your relays and fuses, your CAN, all that stuff? And so this is really cool because it has a built-in Bluetooth module, so you can use Bluetooth to display all your CAN messaging, so like state of charge and everything, so I don't have to worry about that. It's got a comprehensive control built in, so for all the charger, for the Elcon charger, it's going to control the charger. It also has a 12-volt management system, so it is going to monitor your 12-volt battery, and when it gets to a certain level, it's going to tell the onboard charger to trickle charge your 12-volt battery off of your high voltage pack, which is cool. You don't have to worry about that. And then of course it has all the relays and fuses and everything else. So I got this one. This was about $950. Again, I think it's well worth it. And so this is the entire diagram if I'm going to wire up with Flashdrive Motors, so using their 2 components. So as you can see, this is much simpler than the one you saw with EVOS. So again, you have on the right side, you have your motor. You have then this black box is the motor controller. You're going to have the wiring harness off of this thing is already labeled on here. So you have your throttle, gas pedal. The HV is the contactor box that I showed you before. So it's pretty simple. There's just going to be, you know, battery in and out, battery plus and minus. Then you have HV plus and minus going through the car to the motor controller. And then you have an HV out going to your charger, right? And then you have these signal control wires. Then on the other side, you have the HB Hyper9 VCU, which talks to your BMS. It's going to talk to the onboard charger. It's going to talk to your pump, your fan, all that stuff, 12-volt charging, everything, like I said. So this VCU controls all that logic. You don't have to buy the VLCU and all the other, you know, circuitry to make the onboard charger work. This supposedly is just plug and play. So on the Flashdrive motors VCU, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins coming out, six Deutsch connector plugs coming out. And then on the flash drive motor side, you have one molex coming out that has different signal wires. So this is basically how it looks like in the car right now. I'm going to show you a video as well in live. But so I have my contactor here, the two orange cables coming in. That is going to the motor controller. So you have the positive and the negative. Obviously, you have the BMS on the left, and then the VCU here. You can see that the wires coming out and the different Deutsch connectors. And then on the right, this thing with the blue foil on top, that's my onboard charger. That's a 2-in-1 charger that so it controls. So you can connect a J1772 receptacle to it, and then you can also connect. So this is going to connect to your. Sorry, this is going to charge from the wall outlet to this charger. Onboard charger is going to charge to your main battery pack, but there's also ability to charge a 12-volt off of the same charger. I got a liquid cooled one, so you see these two red brass ports here. This is for the water in and out, so that's going to be water cooling for that. So overall, it's a lot simpler in design. I've been spending about 4 months. Most of that has been spent wiring the high voltage cables through the car. I'll show you a little bit of that. That was really the bulk of the work, but everything else kind of came together. I mean, I did have to teach myself how to do Deutsch connectors, how to crimp the pins and all that. That took a little bit of some timing and soldering a little bit, but overall it was, I think, a lot easier than doing everything from scratch. I have my Orion 2 BMS. I have my flash drive motors HV contactor box. And behind that, I have the flash drive 12-volt VCU, and then I have here the TC charger. So everything has been pretty much mounted. I need to mount this because it's on there. So I'm kind of show you the connections here. So starting with the contactor box, the battery. Once I get that, we'll go into here. High voltage cables, which run all the way back to the motor controller, go here. So that's the positive. I'm sorry, that's the negative. Oh yeah, that's the positive. This is the negative here. There, and then I have the DC charging. That's going to go here. So that's going to be to charge the 12-volt, and also this is going to carry the voltage to charge the batteries from the onboard charger. I have wired up the 1772 connector there. Comes through here. That is grounded and is into the charger. We have some signal connectors here going to the VCU. This is going to be going to the chassis, so this goes to like the key on, the fan, the pump. So when I get that set up, this is the connector that goes to the BMS. This is the connector for proximity G1772. This is for the charger. This is the signal connector, and it goes here. I do have one more connector that's going to go from the contactor box, and that's going to run into relay to my VCU. So this looks like a mess. I understand, but it would have been an even bigger mess if I did not purchase this contactor box and the VCU from Flashdrive. I highly recommend it. It's amazing. It saved me a lot. I'm going to show you the wiring diagrams if you didn't have it and using it. So now I want to show you where all these cables go. So you know, you see these two high voltage cables going down into the car, and then under the dash I have the two high voltage cables coming down. I've installed this smart car digital throttle pedal, and so I need to hook that up to the main motor controller harness. I have my motor controller harness here. It runs through the car into the back. I have finally, this took a couple, probably about a month or two, to figure out how to run these conduit and the high voltage cables. They are very tight. So I have one here that's negative, one's positive, safely in there. And you might be asking, why are you doing that? It's going to be, I've tested it, and we're going to bolt this down, the shifter down, and it runs very well. There's plenty of room. It does not touch or scrape the conduit at all, so we're pretty safe there. Okay, so that's the inside of the car. Okay, and then coming to the back, I have my motor controller harness coming back from the rear seat and into the motor controller. Let's see, I have the 3 leads that go to the actual motor. I have the HV positive, which I'm going to attach here, and then I have my negative, which I'm running, and that's going to be attaching here. And then what I need to do next is down here we have our thermistor and sensor, motor sensor, and I need to hook those up to the motor controller, and that is almost all the wiring that needs to be done besides the battery box. All right, so just doing a little wiring today. This is going to be for my TC charger here. It's a 2-in-1 onboard charger. It charges your high voltage battery pack as well as your 12-volt battery. And one of the things it includes is this really monstrous 32-pin plug. I only need to connect 4 wires to this 32-pin plug. That connects to the Flashdrive Motors VCU unit. And when I bought the TC charger, it came with 4 of these plugs, and now I know why they gave us 4 of them. They gave me 4 of them because they're notoriously difficult to wire up. So on these things, you'll see here that the plug has, it's kind of a lemon shape, and on the little like ridges, you have to line up the special pins that they give you to line up in there, and it has, there's 2 sizes, obviously, there's the big and small. And when you do that, the wire needs to go all the way through the plug to the bottom, to the end, without getting caught, and that's super difficult. I've gone through 3 of them, ripped my hair out, and it's pretty hard, unless you're, I don't know, if you're pretty experienced, maybe you can do it, but I kind of found a shortcut, and I got this pre-wired harness, exact same plug, with all the wires already pre-labeled and labeled to tell you exactly which ones you're going to need to go to. So this is beautiful. I think it was like $30. It's $20, but then there's a $10 Trump tariff to ship it to the US. So there you are. It took about a week and a half to get, and now I'm going to wire this up. I have my 4-pin Deutsch connector here. This is going to go to the VCU. This has 4 pins according to the Flashdrive instructions. Pin 1 is going to go to DC enable, which is 2C on here. And then we have charger power 2H, and then we have CAN high, CAN low 4B4A. And so I'm going to isolate those wires, and then we're going to solder those together to connect them. Okay, so in order to solder these wires together, I got to go 2C to my DC enable pin 1. I'm using these little solder seal connectors. So basically you just slide in. Okay, so you just slide in the wires into the solder seal connection. And what you do, there's some solder in that circular ring right there. And you just have a heat gun and you apply the heat and it's going to melt the solder, and it's also at the same time heat shrink the two wires together, forming a pretty solid connection. So what I did here, I'm going to put a piece of wood here just to protect the bench from the heat, and I'm going to be swinging my heat gun here to get those connected. Okay, so what you do is when you apply the heat, as soon as you start seeing the solder flowing, you turn the heat off, and as you can see, we have a pretty good solid connection here. So I got all these soldered up. Now I'm going to test, just to make sure, test the connectivity. I have a multimeter here. You set it on connectivity tests. It looks like a Wi-Fi symbol sideways. When you have connectivity, it beeps. Because these are pretty thick, they're not going to fit into the pin. So what I did is I just had a wire here, and this is going into 4A. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to focus there, but that's 4A, and 4A should be pin 3 on my Deutsch connector. Let's test that right now. You got it. That's pin 3. So just going to go through all these, just make sure they have connectivity and we have this good soldering there, and then we're set to go.